Hello, it's your boy Davidoff. It is that time of year again, this time earlier because I'm coming to Australia at the start of the AFL season. I'm looking forward to that. I'm coming to Perth, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Tasmania. Some of those for AFL, some of those just for tourism. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a nice big holiday. I spent 2 weeks there in 2022, multiple states, and 2 weeks there last year in multiple states, watching finals games and plenty of AFL games in general. And now I'm coming for 3 weeks. I'm going one up. So yeah, there's so much. You got a continent of a country, so there's so much to explore. Can't do it in one little holiday. So my third holiday in 3 years. I'm looking forward to it. I'm already planning on coming again next year as well. So yeah, as you can tell, I love coming there, and also I have a reason to come as well because of the AFL. But there's other reasons too. Anyway, yeah, I'm very excited to share my holiday with you. There'll be vlogs on my personal channel, Sir Davidoff. Get subscribed because it's still like 300 away from 1,000, which we got to get there ASAP. But I'm excited to share with you all the AFL stuff as well. All the vlogging will be on there for the AFL games that I go to. So just so you know, get subscribed over on Sir Davidoff. It is linked down below. It always is in every description. So yeah, my ladder predictions. I did one in 2023 in like November, I think. I did a tier maker. It was kind of a rough draft, just thinking off the bat. I literally in the video, I was just thinking of it in the video in the moment. It wasn't really planned out. I just thought I'd make a draft ladder predictions and see, you know, see what people thought as well. And but it was genuinely my predictions. I just thought, okay, based off this season just gone, this might happen. I have changed that ladder a little bit. If I didn't change it, I wouldn't make this video because what's the point, right? But I have changed some positions, some a little bit more drastically than others, but none have changed that much. I haven't changed many teams like humongously, but some teams I have moved around here and there, a few positions up and down, at the top, at the bottom, and in no man's land. So let's get started with number 18, the West Coast Eagles. Another bad season for them. I think they'll get maybe more wins than last year and the year before, of course. But I do think they'll get the spin again. I could be wrong, obviously, about any of these. So before I annoy certain fans of certain teams, but my prediction is West Coast will be the worst team in the comp. But again, I could be wrong. In 17th, now this might be a surprise because there are people that have them quite high, some in the finals, but most people have them like between 11th and like 15th. But in 17th, I have got Gold Coast. Yes, the Gold Coast Suns. I am predicting them, and this might be a risky prediction, but risks are there to be taken. I am predicting the Gold Coast Suns to have their worst season in a very long time. They've not been around a long time anyway, but you get the point. They've not been as low as 17th for a little while now, a few years. I think they will be 17th, or at least bottom 5. I don't see them above the bottom 5, in my opinion. I could be very wrong, because people are saying finals, and you know these are from people that know more than me about AFL. But risks are there to be taken. My prediction is they're going to have a bad season. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. You know, they could finish 10th. It wouldn't surprise me if they finished 10th, to be honest. But I just got this feeling that they'll be really bad this year and they'll finish 17th. I'm not saying they're an awful team. I don't think they're an awful team. I think they're capable on their day of, you know, beating certain like big teams. I think they can do that. They almost did last year as well. They were very close to some big games. So I'm not saying they're like useless or terrible. They're not as bad as West Coast. I'm just predicting that they're going to be one of those teams that slips down quite far, and I think they'll be 17th. Again, just to clarify, I could be wrong because every single year this video annoys some people. So you know we just got to be careful. You know we've got to be respectful in a way. Number 16 in 16th place. I should have worn my cap. I'll just put my membership stickers here. My team. I'm a member for 7 years. It's been a while. Oh, here it is actually. 7 years. This is how you can tell I'm not biased. All right. I've not mentioned North Melbourne yet. I have put Hawthorn in the bottom 3. Okay. I am not biased. We have clarified this right here, right now. I'm not being biased in this prediction. I've predicted my own team to finish 16th. I actually think we'll be better performance-wise this year. We'll be more competitive. In more games. I think we'll be more of a threat even to big teams, but I can't see us progressing that far up the ladder. I think it will be quite tough this year. especially in certain games. I think we've quite a tough start as well. I don't expect us to hit the ground running this season. I don't expect us to do anything that special. I do think we'll get some good wins. I think we'll surprise a few people. We'll get some surprising wins against certain teams that we're not expected to beat. We might get a win against Geelong, for example. I think that's possible. But I just don't see us going far up the ladder this year. I think we will get to a point where we'll start to be more competitive, but it's going to build over a number of years. I don't think this is our year yet. Could be next year, but it's not this year. In 15th, North Melbourne. So yeah, North I don't expect to do that well. I do expect them to be better than last year. I've said that about like 3 of the 4 teams already, and they're in the bottom 4. But yeah, I don't expect them to progress that high up the ladder. So if they were above 14th, 13th, I'd be surprised, to be honest. But I put them 15th. In 14th, I have Fremantle. They'll be slipping down. I mean, they slipped down already last year, but they'll continue to be slipping down. I predict them to finish 14th. Honestly, I would not be surprised if they finished 16th, even 17th. Fremantle could have a season that bad as well. Like I'm saying for Gold Coast, Fremantle could have that season that I'm predicting for Gold Coast. But I put them 14th. No man's land. I don't think they'll compete for the 8 at any point in the season. But I just don't think they'll be at the bottom. I don't think they'll be a spoon contender either. So they'll just be there. They'll just be doing whatever, mate. They'll just be there. So that's what I think for Fremantle. I like them as well. I actually do like them. A lot of people don't. Fair enough. I feel like I like a lot of teams that people hate because I support Hawthorn. I'm fairly certain most AFL fans do not like Hawthorn, especially when they were winning. I supported them after they started losing, though, so you know that's just that's my fault. That is, maybe I'm just a bad luck charm because I support Arsenal as well. I support the Lakers in I mean, they did win a championship a few years ago after I started supporting them, so that's maybe not completely. LA Kings and ice hockey, they kind of got worse since I started supporting them. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me. But yeah, look, I like Fremantle. I don't support them, but I like them. I like Adelaide over Port Adelaide. I like Fremantle on the West Coast. It's that I seem to like teams that people dislike more than the other. I just, you know, that's just me, I guess. But it is what it is. In 13th place, Essendon. Yeah, I predict them to not have a great season in terms of, you know, being a contender. Last year, they were looking very good in the first half of the season. Second half, they turned into a different team. I don't know what happened to them, but it's just like the Essendon team in the first half of last year was so different from the Essendon of the second half of last year. And I was looking like, what happened? You looked so good for so much of the season, and then you just looked so bad for the rest of the season. I was just like, what's going on? This season, it's not going to be half great, half bad. This season, I think, generally would just be inconsistent and average for Essendon. Just like Fremantle, I don't expect them to be challenging that high. But I also don't expect them to drop down that far down. What am I saying? I also don't expect them to drop that far down. Last year I had them 17th, so that was a pretty bad prediction. Then again, I had the Giants 18th, so that was even worse. I had the Giants much higher this year. We'll get there eventually. I got Geelong in 12th. I don't expect them to have a great season. I think they'll have another disappointing season. Last year they were contending, you know, they were almost in the 8. Then the last few rounds they slipped away. But they struggled quite a lot. Obviously, they've lost the first 3-4 games last year, right? I think they'll have a better start this year. But I think overall they'll be largely inconsistent and they won't get enough wins to make the 8. St Kilda! I think they'll have a similar season to Geelong, but I think they have less expectations than Geelong because they're a lot less successful just historically and in the present as well. But I think St Kilda, similarly to Geelong, I don't think they'll have enough consistency to make the 8. They could contend for it at some points in the season, for sure. I mean, I put them 11th. But I just don't think they'll have enough wins and enough legs to make it all the way after round 24 to be in the 8. I just can't see that in St Kilda. I'd like to see them do it because I want to see them break their drought. It's been a long time. They've won one flag and it was so long ago. Same year as England won the World Cup, and that's the early World Cup. It's a nice contrast, similarity there. But yeah, they were so close in 2010 as well. If only there was extra time back then, who knows. But it's been a long time for them. So I want to see them win a flag at some point. But I just can't see that this year. I thought it was possible at the start of last year because they had a great start last year. But then they slipped down. This year I don't expect them to even have a good start like they did last year. I don't think they'll do that well. I could be wrong. I'm losing my voice, sorry. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I want Saints to do well. But I can't see it in them. In 10th I got the Western Bulldogs. I think their season will be similar to last year. I think they'll be a contender for the 8 throughout the season. But I think they'll just fall short. And last year they fell short because they couldn't win a couple games that they really should have won. They lost to like 2 teams at the bottom 4. So that didn't help them. Because they would have been there. They would have been there. But I think they'll have a similar season in terms of just missing out. Like doing really well, but like just not having enough because they lose certain games they should win. The Bulldogs can be quite unpredictable, I feel. Because on their day, they can beat anyone. But it's not always their day, shall we say. But I think they'll finish 10th. In 9th place, I got Richmond. I put them 9th last year, and people were angry. Why have you not put them in the 8? How dare you? And I was right, they didn't make finals. In fact, I was nice to them. This year, I did my draft ladder. I put Richmond in the 8. I put them like 7th, I think. And people commented, are you crazy? They're going to be terrible. They're going to be bottom 4. I'm just like, okay. Relax. Relax. I don't hate or love Richmond. I found them annoying when they're winning 3 flags in 4 years, but that if any team dominated that much, I'd have a problem with it, unless it was Hawthorn. So that's a bit different. Even if it was like Freo, who I like, if Freo won 3 flags in 4 years, it wouldn't happen anyway. But if they did, a big if they won 3 flags in 4 years, I wouldn't like them that much either. So it's just like, apart from that 3 flags in 4 years that I found a bit annoying, and I also liked Adelaide quite a lot when they beat them in 2017. That did actually annoy me quite a bit. I never hated Richmond. Like, they got a great song, Yellow and Black. I hated when they smashed us in round 2022 at the MCG. I was there on holiday. It was awful. But, I never hated them, but I never loved them either. And when I predicted them outside the finals, outside the 8 last year, it wasn't because I didn't like them. I genuinely thought they wouldn't do that well, and they would just miss out. And this time I'm saying they'll be the same as last year. They'll miss out on the finals, but they will be a contender at least for a little bit. Then they'll slip away like last year. I'm going to put them 9th, partly because of the meme, but I genuinely do think they'll be between 9th and 12th, the bracket where you're almost in the 8, but you're not. I think they'll be in that category. I could be wrong, because literally everyone is putting them below where I'm putting them. Literally everyone. I've not seen anyone put Richmond as high as 9th, or any higher than that. So maybe I'm completely wrong. And I know a lot of you have been following, grew up with AFL, been following it a lot longer. You know a lot more about the game. I've only been a fan since 2017. I get it. But based on what I think and what I see, I don't think they'll be that bad this season, but it won't be that good either. So yeah, apparently this year I love them because I put them higher than they should be. But I'm just saying, do not underestimate the Tigers this year, okay? And I'm not saying that because I suddenly love them. I am neutral of Richmond, okay? Let's just leave it at that, all right? The teams I dislike: Collingwood, Geelong, Essendon. That's all you need to know, okay? and North Melbourne, okay? The rest of them, I don't hate anyone else, okay? So calm down. Calm down. Because I know the comments will go crazy if I don't clarify certain things. In the 8, I have got Port Adelaide. A bit of a risk here. I put too much faith in this team. I had them as flag winners 2 years ago, I'm pretty sure. And they were not even in the 8. So, and there was a couple times, obviously, when they made the prelims, and I thought, oh yeah, they're gonna get to the grand final. It's gonna be amazing. Then it just got embarrassed at home to the Western Bulldogs, or the other time I think it was Geelong, or I think they beat Geelong. They lost to someone else in the prelim. I can't remember who. It was a bit of a closer game than the Bulldogs won. I always have faith in them in certain scenarios, and they just embarrassed themselves completely. I think the biggest issue with Port, for me at least, since watching in 2017 actually, because it was an issue back then as well, is they can't go for the whole season. That's what it feels like. They can be very good for a large part of a season, then they just slip down. Like, they just slip away like it's nothing. It's just like, it's like they use all their energy. And as soon as they're out, in like they're out of energy at some point in the season, could be halfway, could be around 18. As soon as they're out of energy, they're just terrible. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a psychological thing. I don't know. Or it could just be fatigue. I don't know. But for some reason, poor Adelaide, multiple times, it's happened at least 4 times, I think, since I started watching AFL, where they've had a strong start to the season. They look good, especially last year when they were top 2 of Collingwood. They look good for a lot of the season, and then at some point it just drops. Like, they're so good for most of it, and at some point they just drop like that. And I'm just like, what happened to you? And there was a couple times where they made the top 4, and then they won a finals game, and then as soon as you get to the prelim, the drop-off happened again. Sometimes it happens really late. They never get all the way without dropping off completely. It's a weird thing about them. Because, you know, at their best, in many seasons, they've been pretty damn incredible to watch. But then they just do certain things, and it's just like, it's like they switched out of their clones. Like they all cloned themselves, and they send a different team out there. It's like, that's what it feels like sometimes. So yeah, it's just yeah, that's just poor Adelaide to me sometimes. But I got them in the 8, just missing out, and sorry, just getting in. I had them like 9th or 10th, I think, when I did the draft one. So I pushed them up a little bit. I could be wrong, but that is what I'm predicting. I got the Power in the 8. In 7th, Melbourne. I think they'll struggle a bit this season, especially in big games. I think they'll still be in the 8 because they've been in the top 4 consistently. But two straight sets exits in the finals in consecutive years, I think that's going to have an effect on them. I know one subscriber of mine reckons they'll slip down completely out of the 8 because losing like that 2 years in a row, it can affect you. I don't think they'll slip down that much, but I do think they'll slip down into the bottom half of the 8. I think they'll stay in the 8 just, but I don't think they'll finish in a strong finals position. That's just my opinion. Could be wrong. Could be very wrong, but I can see Melbourne slipping. They've still got a good squad, a strong squad. It's certainly, I still think it's capable of, you know, being a contender, but I just don't see them in the top 4 this season. Again, could be wrong. In 6th place, I got the Adelaide Crows, and it's not because I like them. I thought they were very impressive last year. Very impressive. I was just like, yeah, this team looks really good. They just need a fresh start, a new season. I think this season is the time to prove themselves, because last year they showed big signs in many games of being a very good team. I think they've got the quality, they've got the players. As long as they hit form, hit the ground running, I think they'll be a serious finals contender this year. And I have them to make the 8. I think they'll be 6th. I think they'll be very good. As long as they can be consistent. As long as they can be consistent, I think I'm confident they'll make it. I'm confident they'll make it. Unless they, I mean, I'll let you know again in round 10 or something. But I'm fairly confident they'll do very well. I'd be surprised if they didn't. I'd be very surprised if they didn't. I'm definitely more confident in this than Fremantle 3rd last year. So that gives me some PTSD, that one. In 5th place, Sydney Swans. I think they'll be back to being very strong. They could be top 4. If they made top 4, I would not be surprised. In fact, if they were first, I'd not be surprised. I think they'll be very, very strong this year. But I expect them to... I expect the top 5 or 6 in general to be very strong. I expect it to be very close between 1st and 6th. Again, could be wrong. But Sydney making top 4 could be just about percentage or goal scored or whatever you want to judge it on. It could be very tight, I think. So I have them 5th, but they could be anywhere in the top 5. Obviously, the difference between 4th and 5th is pretty damn huge. In 4th place, I've got Carlton. I know people are going to go crazy because people are convinced I'm a Carlton fan. I don't mind Carlton. You know, I like them because they lose quite a lot, so it's good to see them do well for once. But people think I love them, I support them. It's just like, I never have. I never have. But now that I put them 4th in my predictions, they're going to go crazy, these people. They're going to be like, oh yes, he's definitely a Carlton fan. He's admitted it himself, even though he showed a 7-year membership Hawthorn badge. He definitely likes Carlton more. Oh yes, they're gonna go crazy with this. He's put Carlton 4th. Oh, that confirms it. He is a Carlton fan through and through. I am not. Please stop. Stop it. I am not a Carlton fan. Stop. Maybe a Carlton Draught fan. I haven't tried it though. Probably should have tried it when I went to Tasmania 2 years ago. But anyway, not a fan of Carlton, as in the Carlton Blues. Okay, I like him. I like him more than Richmond and Collingwood, and well, I like Melbourne more than them. Yeah, I like Melbourne more than Carlton. Isn't that evidence that I don't support Carlton? Why would I like Melbourne more if I support Carlton? You have no logic. No logic at all. Anyway, yeah, I think they'll have a great season. I think they'll go as far as a prelim again. I don't think they'll go further than that. That's kind of a spoiler for a video I'm doing tomorrow. Either way, I'm keeping that in the video. I think they'll do very well. I think they'll do well in the finals as well. I don't think they'll be a flag winning team this year. But you never know, they could be. But they need the top 4 finish, I feel. If they're going to win the flag, they need the top 4 finish. That's not why I've put them there. I genuinely think they can make top 4 on their own merit. They'll at least be in the 8, I feel. I think they can push. They'll be confident. You know, they got to the prelim last year. And they were 30 points ahead in the first quarter. And they only lost to a team that hasn't lost on the Gabba since, what, 2022. So, you know, it's not like they got embarrassed or anything, you know. They won 2 classics in the finals, and you know they did well for themselves. So I think this year they'll push on. They'll do even better. They won't just make the 8. They will be in top. I mean, they finished 5th, I think, anyway. But it still took until the last few rounds anyway. But this year I think they'll be comfortably at least top 6. They'll be comfortably in the bracket. It's just a case of can they make top 4 or not. And I think they'll just edge it over Sydney. In 3rd place, Collingwood. Some people think they'll slip down a bit, which is possible. I'm not saying that can't happen, but I think they'll still be strong. I think they'll still be strong. Obviously, now that, you know, now that they've been at the top, you know, they've been top all season, they've won the flag, people will start to figure them out a bit more. It's not like they'll be a bit more predictable, I guess, if they keep playing the same way, even though their way of playing is very effective. But they can adapt, and I still think they'll be very strong. I don't think they'll be as dominant as last year, because again, I think teams will find more ways to beat them. Definitely, for sure, especially in big games. I think we could have some very classic games between Collingwood and Sydney, Carlton, GWS, Brisbane. I think all those teams are going to have some classics with each other, even Adelaide as well. And yeah, I think they'll get less wins than last year, be less dominant, but I still think they'll be a top 4 team. I still think they'll be able to beat most of the teams on the ladder. So I got them in 3rd place, and we shall see what happens there. In 2nd place, I have got the GWS Giants. Bear in mind, this is my flag winner prediction. I predict them to win the flag. Last year, I put them 17th. Severely underestimated them. In my defense, that still looked like a good prediction up to like round 12, I think. They won 4 of their first 12 games. So at that point, they didn't look like a finals contender anyway. So I wasn't proven wrong until like towards the end, because they went on a bit of a win streak, like 5-6 games or something. Then suddenly they were in the conversation, and they won enough games at the end of the season to make the 8. So fair enough to them. They did very well second half of that season and were great in the finals. They almost beat Collingwood, the most dominant team all season. They almost went to their backyard at the MCG, and they were just a few points away. So that's a lot to take away. They lost 4 of their first 12 games. They lost 4 of their first 12 games, yet they came back from that, not only made the 8, but they won their first 2 finals, and they almost got to grand final. They were a few points away from grand final. And when you consider that they won 4 of their first 12 games, that's very impressive. So I think this year they're not going to have a bad start. They'll be much stronger, much more confident off the back of last year. And I think they will go all the way and win the flag. At the very least, I think they'll be top 4. At the very least. I genuinely believe they can go all the way. And if they can finish top 2 and get a home final, if they win that, get another one, that could be amazing for them. I think they'll be better at the MCG this time round as well. They've not historically had a great record there. Not that they have a long history anyway, but before last year, their record at the MCG wasn't too great. You know, they were even losing to Hawthorn, and that's when we were. We still are pretty bad, but we were like really bad a couple of years ago, and we still managed to beat them. So I think their record at that ground will improve, and it needs to be honest, if you want to win the flag anyway. But I reckon they'll be very good, both home and away, and very tough to beat, I reckon. I think they'll win a lot of games. Obviously, you have to finish second, but that's where I predict them to finish. But if they finish like third, fourth, even fifth, I would not be surprised. But I reckon second could be where they finish. In first place, I've got the Brisbane Lions. Normally grand finalists, especially the losing grand finalists, tend to slip away quite far. I don't think the Lions will. I don't think their era of finishing top 4 is over, or finishing the 8, I guess, rather, because they did finish like 5th or 6th at one point. But they've had a few final series. They have good experience. Their finals record, their regular season record has been great for most of the seasons in the last few years. Their finals record was not great until 2022. That's when it started to improve. And in 2023, they were very good. Obviously, being great at the Gabba definitely helped. And in the grand final at the MCG, they only lost by a few points. So they were a few points away from beating dominant Collingwood. A goal away, really. Who knows if the umpire didn't play advantage in that. I know there's people blaming that decision for the game at the end, but I don't believe. I mean, let's not get into that. I feel like the result in the end was fair overall, but obviously I can understand why Brisbane fans are pretty angry about that. But you know, Brisbane potentially could have been an umpire decision away from winning the flag. Like, it was pretty close. That game was close throughout. They were very competitive throughout, and even when they fell behind, they always fought back. And at the MCG, they don't historically have the greatest record as well, so they did really well last year in the grand final and just throughout the season. Unfortunately, went wrong for them, but I think they won't be a team that slips away. First of all, they didn't get blown away. There was no blowout. They still, you know, they almost won. It can still affect you. Obviously, it can still affect you. But I think off the back of that, the fact that they were that close to winning the flag, I reckon they'll have enough motivation to go again and really like go all the way this time. I don't think they'll go all the way. I think the Giants will do it. But I reckon Brisbane will be minor premiers at least. I could be wrong. But if they slip below the top 4, I'd be very shocked. I think they're a top 4 guarantee. I could be wrong, again. Even though I just said 1st and 6th will be very close. But I think they're a top 4 guarantee. And I think they'll be strong in the finals. So we shall see. As long as they can keep the Gabba fortress as well. If they finish top 2, I mean, they're going to be hard to stop. Obviously, they can be stopped in the grand final. But I think this time they can learn from that Collingwood game and go again. Who knows, the grand final could be a rematch from 2023. That's very possible as well. Both teams are more than strong enough to do so. But yeah, I think the grand finalists will be in the top 6 that I named. So Brisbane, Giants, Collingwood, Carlton, Sydney, Adelaide. 2 of those being the grand final, in my opinion. So let me know what you all think. I did this in one take. That's unusual for me. I have a stutter. If you didn't know, I have a stutter. It's a good thing it's not live, because, you know, I definitely make errors. Expect like a live ladder predictor at some point, probably. I mean, I want to do that as well. We'll see how we can compare that to my main ladder. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how these predictions do. Let me know your ladder predictions down below. Don't be scared, you know. You might end up on the list end of the season, but it's all in good fun. Do not be afraid to tell me what you think. Even if you think I'm an idiot, tell me I'm an idiot. It's fine, you know. Just no swear words or any other crazy words that YouTube might not like, or I might not like. But yeah, no, you're free to call me an idiot for my predictions. You know, call me dumb, call me stupid, but I am standing by my predictions. Okay, and I do not support Carlton, and I do not hate Richmond. Just to clarify, this is my team. Yeah, 7 years. 7 years. Also been following the sport about, was it 2017, 17, 18, 19, 20. This is my 8th season. My 8th season. Okay? I'm just saying. 7 years. Yeah! Anyway, this is your boy Davidoff. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a good day and goodbye. This camera lasts half an hour at a time, and it's almost half an hour, like 10 seconds. So that's perfect timing. See you later.
Let's take it slow. Where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever